All right, this is Chris Medina with the Artists on Main Street project. This is the second video on poetry with some information for you on different styles of poetry that you can engage in and try out for the poetry writing project. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you some different types of poetry and some suggestions of how you could use these poem styles in creating your own poetry for the writing project for the Artists on Main Street Dramatic Expressions on the River project that I am facilitating. So the first one is called a cinquain poem. A cinquain poem is a poem that is 5 lines long. It is a Oriental Japanese poem that focuses on a fragile image or delicate thought. So the pattern for a cinquain poem is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and that's the number of words per line. So the first line is 1 word, second line 2 words, third line 3 words, fourth line 4 words, and the last line 1 word. You can also take it one step further and include a syllabic pattern, which is line 1 has 2 syllables, line 2 has 4 syllables, line 3 has 6 syllables, line 4 has 8 syllables, and line 5 has 2 syllables. So think about how you could use the cinquain to write a poem about Wabasha or the Mississippi River or any element of the 10 guiding questions for this project, which I can share with you if you need them. But any poem about a delicate thought is a cinquain. The next one we have is similar. It's called a haiku poem, and you may be familiar with haiku poems. They're pretty popular. The formula for a haiku poem is 5-7-5. Just remember 5-7-5. First line is 5 syllables, second line 7 syllables, and third line 5 syllables. White caps on the bay, a broken signboard banging in the April wind. So think about how you could write a haiku poem about summer, boating, river life, beach life, rafting on the river, fishing on the river. You could write a Wabasha haiku about any aspect of Wabasha, or even Main Street haiku. I'm going to be working on my Fresh Walk haiku poems sometime this month, so you could also join me in writing haiku poems about your favorite Wabasha business. So then next we have the diamant poems, which are poems that are shaped like diamonds. And usually a diamant poem or diamante poem is something about 2 contrasting ideas. So the instructions are here for you. The first line you write a word down. The second line you write 2 adjectives describing that word in line 1. Then line 3, write 3 ing words describing the word in line 1. And then line 4, the first half, the first 2 words describe line 1, and the second 2 lines describe line 7. So it's kind of where it meets in the middle. Line 6 or line 5 is write 3 ing words about line 7. Line 6 is 2 adjectives about line 7. And then line 7 is the opposite word of line 1. So child, adult, jungle, desert, school, vacation. You get the idea. So just think about how you can contrast 2 different things. Acrostic poems. I love acrostic poems. They spell out messages. That you use letters to spell out the whatever you're writing about. So if you would write a Wabasha poem, you'd spell out Wabasha, and then you would write a poem about Wabasha using the letters Wabasha. Or the Mississippi River, or anything related to the project, or any sort of thing that you want to do. If you just want to play with it for fun, try your name. I wrote a message called Sweet Melon. And actually the message is watermelon is good. And my poem is this: welcome to my dessert tray. Always take 5 or more. Tell all your friends about my special sweetness. Everyone likes my texture. Really, I do enjoy giving such flavor. Meet my friend Seed. Everyone seems to spit him out. Love is not his. One day he shall find his place. No one loves my friend. I must treat him nicely. Soon he will grow into another me. Good luck, my lovely friend. On the path to sweetness you journey, over hill, over dale. Deep in the grounds you wait until you ripen nice and plump. Watermelon is good. So that's an acrostic poem. Another type of poem that is very similar to the acrostic poem is the abecedarian poem. So you take any topic and you write a poem about it using the ABCs. So your poem is going to be 26 lines. It could be one stanza. You could break it up into multiple stanzas. That's up to you. But you just follow the alphabet as you write your poem. Now the example I found here is actually quite unique and interesting. It's called A Beautiful Colorful Day in an Exceptional Flower Garden. And this poem has multiple things going for it. First of all, it follows the ABC pattern. Second, it has some alliteration with the letter for each line. So azure asters awaken, some alliteration. But third, it also uses colors and flowers in the poem along with the ABC pattern. So we're learning about all kinds of colors in here, like fuchsia, king crimson, mauve or mauve, neon purple, Persian pink, and you're also learning about flowers: asters, begonias, daffodils, freesias, hydrangeas, kangaroo paws. Every line has a color and a flower that starts with the same letter as that line. So this is really cool poem. It's also color coded and it has the flowers in italics. So you can play with fonts and colors and italics in your poems to make them look a certain way. So write a poem about the Mississippi River using the ABC format, or Wabasha, or any adventure story. You could just think about how you could write a poem using the ABCs. Limericks. These are fun little lighthearted verses. They were made popular by a poet by the name of Edward Lear. So it always begins with "there was something. There was a young lady whose chin resembled the point of a pin. She had made it sharp and purchased a harp and played several tunes with her chin." That's by Edward Lear. Limericks always have lines 1, 2, and 5 that rhyme, and lines 3 and 4 that rhyme. They're always 5 lines. Sometimes they have a syllable pattern, but I didn't go that complex with this one. I just wanted you to see what a limerick is and encourage you to write one. So you can write one about Wabasha. So there once was blank from Wabasha, who, something that rhymes with Wabasha, or maybe change it up a little bit so you don't have to use Wabasha as the rhyme. He, she, they, what did they do? And then your conclusion line. Fun way to write a poem. Here's one that I wrote just about the river. There once was a man on the river who sat upon a log with poetry he would deliver. He would recite it to any who would hear. His words were comparable to the great Shakespeare. Feelings, emotions, and thought that can make even me shiver. So that's my limerick on the Wabash on the river. Or you could write an ode, which is basically a celebration to a certain person, event, or idea. We had the Grand Excursion happen here in Wabasha area in the history. You could read about it down at the riverfront, but you can write an ode to the Grand Excursion and talk about what happened during that time in history. Ode to a Grecian Urn, John Keats. He has a little bit of a rhyme scheme in there, but you don't necessarily need to have a rhyme scheme in odes if you don't want to. And if you want more information about like the different elements I'm referring to, watch my first video where I talk about the different style elements of poetry, like rhyme and alliteration, assonance, consonance, hyperbole, allusion, all those things. Sonnets. This is a 14-line poem with a repetition. Sonnets usually have repetition and usually have a rhyme scheme of some sort, 4 stanzas. So this rhyme scheme is A B A B C D C D E F E F G G, Sonnets sometimes have a meter or a rhythm where it's like iambic pentameter, where it goes da 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 da. I must, before this day comes to close, leave an undetected footprints in the jam, touch down repeatedly on someone's nose, and dart off from the brushing of a hand. I must contaminate some breakfast crumbs, patrol a weaving course I can't unwind, and dazzled by a sunbeam I must drum. Between the shining window and the blind, I must submerge in coffee cups and swill the spattered edges of a plate and scale the walls, and flit and stop and stare and fill my big red eyes with light before it fails. Before the night falls, or the swatter does, I'll buzz and buzz and buzz and buzz and buzz. So that's kind of a sonnet with an iambic pentameter feeling to it. One of these sets of rhymes does not really rhyme very well, so we got close and nose, but look at jam and hand. Doesn't really rhyme very much, does it? That's what we call a slant rhyme. So you kind of slant it so that it does rhyme, or a near rhyme. So you can play with poetry and words that way. Another thing you could do is write an imagery poem. So here's something you can do. Take out a sheet of paper and think about yourself in a certain place. It could be a beach, a mountaintop, a city, any place that you've been or you want to go to. And try this exercise with me. On your sheet of paper, you're going to write 11 lines. The first 2 lines are going to start with I see. The next 2 are going to be I hear, and then the next 2 I smell, the next 2 I taste, the next 2 I touch, and then the last line is I feel, and state how the scene makes you feel. So I have some examples here on this slide. I see traffic lights, I see taxis, I hear sirens, I hear engines, I smell roses wafting in the air. Feel free as you go through this poem to revise and edit. So maybe even double space your lines so you can cross things out and write things in. So you're going to start with this basic idea of the I see, I smell, I hear, I taste, I touch, and then you're going to add to that. So after you've made your 11 lines, you're going to go back and delete, cross out the I sees, the I hear, the I touch, the I smell, and you're going to add in some figurative language. I smell the sea like a bathtub in the night. Or I hear the sounds of pigeons floating, or the sounds of pigeons flying in the air. So think about how kind of images that you might have with each thing. Give some adjectives and adverbs. Add some similes, metaphors, add personification. The sun stretched over with me with a warm blanket of love. And add some rhyme, add some alliteration. So you're going through and just crossing things out and changing them until you have your imagery poem. So here's an example of the process. So I've crossed out the I see, the I hear, I smell, and then I've added and changed things in the poem. And then we have this: water lilies drifted lazily on the water green. So the image there of what I see: majestic swans gliding along the surface so serene. And now the squawking of ducks and songs and birds could be heard, like a kitten the engine of the boat quietly purr. So these are different sounds, and so on and so forth. So this is just a way for you to create the images that you would hear, see, smell, taste, and touch in your poem. So a fun way to go through the process. And I encourage you with any poem you write to just put it down on paper, leave it alone for a while, then come back to it. Think about some of the elements that I gave you in these presentations, and then give them a little flavor. Give it a little more coloring and spice it up a little bit. Concrete poetry. This is a type of poetry that uses words and the form of a poem to convey the same meaning. So you're making a picture with your words. So the My Body poem is all about a person's body, and it's in the shape of a body. My body is a walking representation the outward visual caption of what it means to be me from the outside looking in. At times I hide from you, but mostly what you see is what you will get. So you could draw it, make a poem with words that looks like something as a representation of something. The bird poem here, this is about the raven. Poe's raven told him nothing, nevermore, and Vincent's circling crows were a threat to destroy sunlight. Now I saw a bird black with yellow beak, orange rubber legs, pecking to kill the lawn. Storm bird hates with claw, evil beak, sun and eye. So just a conglomeration of words to make a picture. So here's an idea. Take your favorite picture of the Mississippi River, or of the Mississippi River Bridge in Wabasha, or anything that relates to our area. You could maybe find a picture of an eagle, for example. Trace that picture on paper, or even take your computer screen and put a piece of paper over the screen and draw this picture out with lines, and then go back and fill in those lines with words. So as we go across the bridge, for example, you would have words making up this road, words making up these columns, words maybe making up the reflection or the mountains over on the side or the clouds, whatever you want with this picture, and fill it in with words, and then you have a pictorial representation of the same picture using words. It's kind of a fun way to write poetry, is to take a picture and turn it into words. So that's another suggestion I have for you in this this writing project. Some other ideas: find words in books about Wabasha and the Mississippi River, transform them into a poem. Take a page from a book and cross out words in that book. Make sure you make a copy of that page, and turn that page into a new poem that you have created from the words written on the page. Take a walk along the riverfront in downtown Wabasha. Write what you see. Write about the buildings. Write about the people. Write about the river. Transform those words into poetry. Or make a list of all the things or all the memories you have of the river and Wabasha, and transform those things into poetry. So poetry is when an emotion has found its thought, and the thought has found words. So really take time and come up with some poems. Join me in this writing project. Anything you write and submit to me can be included in the final products, which will include some downtown displays, a book of all of the poems that have been created. I'm going to make a paper copy of that. I'm also going to look for actors and actresses to record and make videos of the poems that were created, and stories and plays, and I'm going to put that together in a video compilation that we can all watch and celebrate on September 17th. So July is writing month. Take some time to write. Join me for my other workshops on dramatic writing. Learn how to write a 10-minute play, or learn how to write a story or create characters, that kind of thing, in the next couple workshops. Alright, this has been Chris Medina, and I appreciate you watching these videos, taking time to learn about poetry. I encourage you to write. Write about what you know, write about what you see, and join the conversation, join the artistic creativity. And there's no wrong answer here. Just write and submit and share. And if you need any help, just let me know. I can look at your work. You know, take a step out and create in these crazy times of not being able to gather as we used to. So let's just share our writing and work together to create something wonderful. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week when we start drama. Drama workshops start next week.